Arsenal Liverpool, with the help of Chelsea, showed that this title race is no laughing matter. And when the job needs to be done, teams will get dispatched ruthlessly. Word to Bukayo Saka. This is another episode of One Kick from Glory, and this week we've been talking about the title race, which is heating up. It's getting very exciting. We know Man City have a game coming up this week, which will be exciting to see what they're going to do about it. By the time you hear this, that's probably already done. We're also going to be discussing the Carabao Cup final, which is coming up this weekend. It's going to be exciting to see whether Chelsea can actually get some silverware this season, or will Liverpool start the Jurgen Klopp farewell tour off, as they could get a historic quadruple. It's on the cards. Will they do it? We don't know. And we're going to talk about some other incidents that happened this weekend as well as that nasty, shocking tackle from Mason Holgate. Before all of that, I'm joined, as always, by Craig.
Yeah.
And Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start off with the game at Liverpool. Well, Liverpool's game against Brentford. Starting with you, Matthew, what was your general reaction to that match?
Hey, Liverpool are taking this to the wire, man. Don't let that game against you lot kind of fool you that, they're starting to show a little bit of wobble, or they're getting truly caught up in the event of the whole goodbye tour for Jurgen Klopp. If they want to try and give him a bit of a send-off. And, they dispatched Brentford really well. I think I predicted that Brentford would score getting that goal from Ivan Toney. I think I did say. I also did say that Liverpool were going to win. And it's no surprise that their front players are doing their bits, man. They're dragging them. They're absolutely dragging them through towards this title, and they going on their march towards 4 trophies. It was a decent game. For the bits that I caught, and that was a decent game, mostly coming down to Darwin Núñez' cheeky little chip. It's like he's kind of he's ingraining more into the Premier League as more and more goes on. He's by far having a better season now than he is having last season. That's to be said. He's slowly improving. He just needs to kind of maybe improve on the numbers a little bit, but those things aren't necessarily important. He's finding his way of doing things, because for all we know, he's taken on that helm from Firmino's gone. Mane's gone. I'm not saying that Salah will go, but if Klopp goes, there's a good chance that Salah might follow him out. I mean, the real reason that he's there was because Klopp brought him in all those years ago. So he's going to be looking at him to be like, if I'm going to be leading the line with Gakpo, with Jota, and with is it Núñez? Yeah, with him and Núñez as well. It's like, what am I going to do to contribute to this club? What am I going to do? How am I going to get these goals? I got to do it the way that suits me, and that chip just suited it. It's I hate to say it, but it was a good goal. Don't do that on Sunday, okay? Do not do that on Sunday. But it was a decent game. I think Brentford are looking over their shoulder a little bit, and they got their players back though from AFCON. They got their players back, so maybe you might think they get a little bit stronger in the next few games. They still got to play us again, which means not a lot because we lost them anyway, but won't lose again. But no, I think Liverpool, they just got to keep on winning and not look too behind them. If I was Brentford, I would be looking behind, because that drop is closer than they think. And bar from the other teams losing in the Burnley, Luton, and Sheffield United all losing, Everton still play tonight. I'll be watching over my shoulder real close, because Forest did win. So, yeah, now good game for all, but one team's definitely going to be happier than the other.
That's very true. Liverpool will definitely be a lot happier. I mean, there's quite a lot of talking points in the match, but I want to start off with the first goal to open up proceedings. And in fact, Michael Owen did tweet this very nice, succinct point, and I'm going to read it out, and then I want to get your thoughts on this, Craig. And he said, that finish from Darwin Núñez yesterday was insane. I can't stop watching it, and I can't begin to explain how difficult a skill that is. Side note, if you know Michael Owen, you know how much of a gunman he was. So for him to say that, you got to take notes, and I definitely did. He said, he's just describing the goal. Moving at pace, the ball running away from you, being inside the box with no room for error, incredible. But it's also further proof that if he is to get close to becoming the great player that many think he can be, he has to adapt his way of thinking. I mean, to even consider that finish is madness. It's a 1 in 10/2 in 10 finish at best. Learning to slot, dink, or go around the keeper is a far more productive way to score and will increase his chances to 4 or 5 in 10, thus massively increasing his end return. I'm not trying to rain in this parade, as that goal was pure class, but I'd rather see it when Liverpool are 3-0 up, not at 0-0. So for you, Craig, just taking those points into consideration, coming from Michael Owen, a Liverpool legend, a footballing legend, a guy that knew how to score goals, a Ballon d'Or winner, I gotta put some respect on Michael Owen's name for him to say this. Like, what's your kind of thoughts on the goal, and in light of what Michael Owen has just said as well?
I feel like with Darwin Núñez, I feel like when he has too much time to think about, he has a lot of time to run and to think about taking a goal shot, he kind of panics and misses. But I think when he's just like, when he calms down, just calm his nerves down, he will score. I think the goal he scored on Saturday because his nerves were calm and he saw the keeper was on his line. The keeper was not off his line, he was on his line. And he just chipped it over him. What a goal. He scored that kind of goal in FIFA. They call it finesse goal. That's a finesse kind of goal he scored.
That was a chip.
Chip finesse. You can do it on FIFA. You can finesse.
Finesse is a curling shot, Craig.
That was a chip. I call it a chip finesse, isn't it?
He's calling it chip finesse.
Techers, man.
That was his techers, isn't it? But it's true what Michael Owen said that. I feel that for him to improve as a striker, to be a more elite striker, to get 20, 30 goals a season, he can do it. But he has to be more calm in front of goal. Some of the chances he missed this season, like against Chelsea, no disrespect, Matthew, he could have scored like 5 or 6 goals. He hit the post, hit the bar, it hit somewhere else, he went wide, went over the bar, went left, right, centre. If he just calm a bit, he could definitely score more goals. And Michael Owen is right. Michael Owen is one of the best finishers England's ever had. He's up there with all the great finishers, so he would know how to finish a chance or two, so he would know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of those opportunities where it's a strike of pure instinct. And I think I remember actually years ago, Dennis Bergkamp was saying this in an interview, talking about finishing, because one of the interviewers asked him, why is it that he likes to chip, score chip goals as opposed to like going low, picking corners. And he said that with a chip shot, it's one of the hardest skills to pull off. But when you get it right, it's impossible to save. Because it is. If you get the height right, there's nothing a keeper can do to stop the ball. There's nothing you can do. It's something he said. It's something Van Persie learnt off him, which we learned and suffered with it against AC Milan in the Champions League. Just side-footed, Robin. But no. I'll do a cheeky dink because the goalkeeper hasn't read my foul. Anyway, so yeah, great goal, great finish. But also in that match, there was the controversy that followed. Obviously, we were all hoping pre-game that Ivan Toney was going to come through. Yes, he did get his goal, and he is, fast catching up to Gabriel Jesus in the total goal scoring for this season, but we'll talk about that another day. But he also got challenged in the box. I don't know if you saw it on Matthew, where Andy Robertson came in from the side. Robertson got none of the ball and all of the man, and referee and VAR just said, nah, that will do. Did you see that incident, and what's your thoughts on it?
Saw like glimpses of it. Like here's what's confusing about me when it comes to the whole penalty thing. Like if there's no contact and no intent of going for the ball, and it gets the man, just how much does the guy have to hit the other guy in order for the penalty to be given or not to be given? The rule, and that's where a lot of issues come by, is that the rules aren't exactly clear cut, because at one point you can't have it where some contact is given but some's not, because it gets confusing. But at other points, like this one, where it can't be where he's clattered the guy and still nothing. I'm not saying that every time a guy gets clattered it has to be a penalty, but it has to be kind of like a defining line of what is and what look. Here's the general rule is, if that was done anywhere else on the pitch, would you have called it a foul? And that's what I think is the general question. If it was me, 70% says to me it's a foul, but it's just that 30% of me that is slightly unsure. And it's hard when you're just the one guy on the pitch that sees all of that, because there's no guarantee the linesman's going to be keeping up with that anyway. And that's when you go to, again, as much as we want to try and get to work with VAR, there are a few questionable moments that came up, and that was one of them. What did they not see that everyone else saw where that isn't exactly a penalty? I mean, he didn't exactly dive though, as well, did he? No,
so the ball was played across the box, and Tony's going to shield the ball off Robertson. For those listening on audio, and then Robertson just kind of comes in off the side, jumps to try and challenge for the ball, and just jumps into the back of Tony. Doesn't play the ball.
So he jumps in his back.
Jumps in the back of Tony. It's a foul. If it was outside
anywhere
the box,
else, that's a foul.
It's a free kick.
So then why is it not a penalty? I don't know.
And I don't know why that's not reviewed by VAR. But for you, Craig, I guess because you were at the ground, weren't you, for the match? What was the general sentiment like? Just like, I guess, leading up to the game, And then maybe even after that incident, after the match, what was the general fan sentiment from?
Start of the game, I was joking with someone. I was talking to some of the Brentford fans before the start of the game. They're buying their food and whatever. And I said to them, "Would you say?" They said it was like a 2-2 draw. I said, "I'll take a 2-2 draw." I said, "Tony will score." And one of the other guys I work with said, "Nah, it's going to be 4-1 Liverpool. Liverpool going to back them 4-1." So he got the game. He said that Nunes definitely going to score. I thought that after the Brentford conceded the first goal, a lot of the fans started coming in, getting their beers and their food and whatever. They got fed up. A lot of games this season with Brentford, I noticed that when Brentford are losing matches, the fans come in very early. If they're 1 or 2-0 down, they're coming very early for their drinks and whatever. A lot of fans don't really watch the game. They stay outside and watch on the screens. And then when Brentford score, they'll go back and they don't really. I think it's been a very poor season for them, and I feel like I think they'll stay up. I think if Tony stays fit for the rest of the season, I think they have enough to stay up. I back them to stay up.
When you describe that in terms of this shifting behaviour in fans, obviously you're comparing it to last season. Would you say there's been a certain point in this season where you've noticed that behaviour more? Like at what month would you say that you noticed the fans started to more regularly come in, like earlier in matches?
Every game.
From the summer or just from a certain point in time?
Since I started working, I didn't work in August. I worked from September. Since September, I've worked every game I've been to, and if Brentford are losing, or even if they're not losing, they're not scoring, the fans are coming in early, even before half time, and getting their drinks and everything.
Wow.
So it's been, even the Man City game the other day, they came in early. Man City, they were winning, they were happy.
Scored first, yeah.
And then after Man City, they conceded 2 goals in the first half. They all went inside. And had their drinks early. They had their food. A lot of them were not happy. You can't blame them. They're hard-working fans. They pay their money for their football. They want to see their team doing well.
What would you say then is like the main complaint that they've had, or what's the kind of general sentiment they've been showing at those times?
I feel like they know that they go into games. They're not confident going into games. Like last season, they knew when Tony was fit and available and had a strong side. Obviously, they're missing defenders at the moment as well. Pinnock is injured. The other centre back is injured. He's out for a while. Henry's been out for a whole season. And I think them two together last season was solid. Obviously, Tony scored goals from last season.
Then just come back.
From a long ban. They got Neil Maupay this season. He's chipped in with goals.
They've got Vissa.
Wissa scored goals as well. Mimbermo has been injured, but he scored goals as well when Tony was out injured. So I feel like they got a good core of the team.
Maybe losing David Raya. They did lose David Raya.
Yeah, I personally feel it's the goalkeeper as well.
Flecken.
I don't think he's as good as Raya, to be fair.
Before he arrived, I think he did a pre-season game or something, and he flopped hard. Just before he arrived, just before he signed the paper, and the fact I think that him going to Arsenal, I mean losing David Raya has hurt them more than they thought. Possibly that's my view though. Anyway,
but I feel like the fans are going into games now thinking, you know what? If we don't win the game, we'll have a jolly up. We'll just drink leg till we get legless and go home and whatever. I don't think the fans are confident they're gonna win games anymore compared to last season. I feel like the fans go there just to have a good time, and if they win, they're happy. If they don't win, they're still gonna have a good time by drinking and eating food. So, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely makes it tough when you can't field your main team. Obviously, Josh Silva as well has been injured a lot this season. He's out again. So, yeah, it's been difficult for them. They've had to kind of adjust quite a bit. I don't know if Sharda is injured, isn't he? Sharda, the striker, Kevin Sharda.
He's been injured for a while. I think he's got a bad, serious injury. I think he had surgery and all. He's been out for a long time now.
I don't think they invested a lot in January. Doesn't look like they did.
They didn't really. I think the reason why they didn't invest in January because they knew Ivan Toney was going to stay. I think if Ivan Toney got sold, they'd have reinvested into the squad.
But they've signed a new striker for next season.
Yeah, so maybe a Brazilian striker.
Yeah, so they're already prepared for the future, which is smart play for them. So it's difficult. I know that obviously this year they were expecting a lot from Sharda, so that injury couldn't have helped. And obviously Tony, they're already kind of planning for his departure. So we'll see how that goes. We'll move on from Liverpool to the next title challenger, Arsenal. It feels nice to say that. It's been a long time, but 2 years in a row, I can say it. Title challengers, Arsenal. Manchester United, you ain't going to say that for a long time, but that's okay. Deal with it. But we had a very, very good win against Burnley. And what I do like about the team post-to-buy, it feels like two things. We have finally took the handbrake off, dashed it in the bin. and the players have learnt to just rasp the ball in the net. You know, it's okay to just score more than one goal, and we're making lots of chances. But I want to start with you, Matthew. So obviously, we know Burnley evolved. This ain't the Burnley evolved. So we all knew it was going to be a bit of like a good result for Arsenal. I think you did predict Arsenal to win that match.
Yeah.
But did you envisage this being the outcome and it being this comprehensive?
Considering how poor they've been, I was expecting. I think it's at least 3. I did say at least 3. But as comprehensive, like they're rubbish, man. I'm sorry, Vincent. I love you. You're a great captain, great thing, whatever. In the Championship, you were great. But I just think since you've been to the Premier League, you've kind of let us down a little bit. We expected a little bit more. I think we kind of expected a bit of a Leeds approach, like, you know, because they got people that can score goals. The defense is about what we're expecting, but we're expecting a kind of vigor and a verve, especially when it comes to Turf Moor. And you know, Turf Moor under Sean Dyche was not an easy place to go. Not an easy place to go. Even if you managed to muster a win, it was not an easy. But like, you know, you guys have still got to do what you got to do in front. And you just, like you said, you've undone the handbrake, you threw it away, and you put more power in your engine. So it's just go, 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 go. Matching every single way, which shows in the table, because as far as goal difference goes, even if Man City were to win, you'd still be ahead. So if you think about it, 2 games, 11 goals, none conceded. And, you know, teams that want to not just prove a point, but also go for a title run, that's what they kind of do. You're keeping pace with your rivals. And again, you're doing what you did last year. Goals coming from different players, not just one player. Goals coming from across the board, you know. So, you know, it's not just your front men scoring, it's your wide men scoring. So it's almost kind of a wonder why Gabriel Jesus is even doing that in the first place if he ain't scoring. It doesn't matter because everyone else is scoring. And then there's poor Eddie. Poor Eddie. He should have gone. He should have left. That's another conversation for another day. But yeah, credit to you. Now you're finally doing what I said you should have done from a long time ago. Take off the handbrake. Rasp some goals in. You know, who knows? You probably could have got more against the Man City. Yeah. You never know. We're now in the third act of the season. Very much in the third act where these results, every little like number and digit and thing is going to matter so much, even to how many goals that you score. Who have you got next?
We'll get into that in a bit.
So that's going to matter. If you're paying, like I say,
but it's Newcastle.
I mean, I'm not saying going to rasp them, but you're going to want to put some goals behind because they're crumbling a bit. They're a little bit crumbly. They're not as free flowing as they were last year with all the injuries they got as well. There's a few suspensions here as well. But so I would know, give it some welly. But Burnley was so poor, been a right letdown. You expect a little bit more, but now watch the highlights of your game, man. They were just, I can't decide who's worse, Burnley or Sheffield United, man. But they were poor, so poor.
I'm going to say Sheffield United because Burnley at least are something on the eye. Before we talk about 2 of the stars of the match, I do want to touch on the Eddie Nketiah point that you raised because I do think it's been now 2 games in a row in which he's been brought on from when we've been winning, comfortably winning, and our attacking play kind of died since he's come on the pitch. And now I'm not saying that's his fault, but what I am saying is that there is a clear issue in the fluency that we're seeing as a team when he comes in. For you, Craig, what do you think from a player perspective needs to happen to help Eddie get back in the groove? Because he's clearly not, he's obviously not in form right now. He's not been getting minutes in games where, you know, we've played Trossard up front, we've played Havertz up front, and you could argue that Eddie as a striker should be the one starting those games, but you can't argue with the outcome because on all 3 occasions when he's not started up front, well, I guess actually all 5 occasions of the 5 games we've had, we've won. So what would you say needs to be done from Eddie's perspective to get him back in that groove?
I said this yesterday on another podcast. He needs to go and watch Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, Ian Wright, all the Arsenal finishers from back in the day, and learn their move. Jermaine Defoe, as an example, how they movement, how to make good, intelligent runs. When he plays up front, he doesn't make intelligent runs. He just stands there, and he doesn't demand the ball. As a striker, you have to demand the ball from your midfielders. Say, I want the ball. Eddie, the ball.
I think he does demand the ball.
He doesn't get it. So that means that goes to the players don't trust
Maybe they
him.
don't trust
Or
him.
on the flip side, because again, I'm thinking about not this game, the game we played at home. The West Ham was away. The game before.
Not in the front. No,
No, I think the West Ham game.
That's okay.
There was a run he made in the second half. The ball was on the left wing, and he made a run in between the two centre backs. But the problem is, where he was calling for the ball. There's no way the guy on the ball is going to find him, because to get the ball to him, the defender would have to make a mistake because he was actually in between the two of them. And it's one of the things I remember. Henry talked about this a lot. Drogba used to do this. Cavani is the master at doing this. Haaland is taking it on and made it his thing. There's a thing that, and Van Nistelrooy, who was really great at doing this, and every great striker learnt this trick. And thinking of Aguero, you do 2 runs when you're in the box. You do 1 run for the defender. Benzema again, Champions League run. Ramadan Benzema, as I referred to him. In that Champions League run when Madrid won it in his last season there, the thing that he was second last season, the thing he was exceptionally good at was those double runs. He'd make 1 run for the defender thinks he's got him, and then all of a sudden he moves to where he wants the ball. The problem with Nketiah a lot this season wasn't so much, I think last year he was doing the double run. He just makes that 1 run. Not saying he hasn't done runs prior to that, but he makes that 1 run to where he wants the ball. But he's not sold the defender. So defenders can see him coming. They're like, okay, he's just here now. And they mark him out the game. And what he needs to do is he needs to do that. Like, say I want the ball near post. I'm going to make a run to the centre circle spot or to the penalty spot first to drag the defenders towards me. And then I'm going to dart into that area later on and make that secondary run. It's the thing that Giroud was really good at as well. And it's a thing that he hasn't quite mastered. And I think that's a key part in the movement that's missing. Because the thing I like about Nketiah is that over the last few seasons, he's added the hold-up play. He's not the best at it, but he's improved a lot. He's added his outside the box work. Again, not the best at it, but he's improved a lot. He's added little turns, which I didn't know he had. But it's like the thing that he was really great for, the goal scoring, it's gone out the window now. And we got to bring it all together now. And I know he's not that young anymore because he's 25. But he's still young relative. So there's levels he can get to, and he is England's record under 21 goal scorer. So he's not a bad player, but there's a level. He needs to find it. I guess for you, Matthew, what's the things that you would say, and just into what Craig said, what's the things that you think from watching Nketiah? He can't leave now, so you can't say leave the club. But what is the thing that you think he could do to put himself in, especially when he's given minutes, that could really make his value increase for the team?
Practice those runs. Practice those things. Even if you're not necessarily, let's say if you're in a position where, like, the last 2 times when you were winning, that's fine. That's a great. The reason why man just put on these players on so late is to get a feel of like what it's being in the box, to get your runs in. It's almost like a bit of a drill of what you want them for them to do. So you're not doing the exact same run every single time. Like you said, the greats before will do run one and then another one that only they know about when no one else does. But each individual striker, the best strikers, will have more than one way of scoring, and you'll sometimes won't even see it coming. Like, you had Henry with the drop of the shoulder. You had Defoe with a fox in the box. You had Michael Owen with just the sheer his finishing ability. And then you had someone like, so Henry, Drogba, Defoe, and then you had someone like incorporating things like that into his game where he figures out what's best for him and just add the goal scoring thing that he already had to do so. So if he is coming on when you're already winning, practice those little runs, get into the ideal spot where your man are more confident enough to find you and be able to finish. If anything, your Champions League, I think, will be a good spot because you're against Porto, which I think you're expected to kind of win.
Porto are a tough team.
But so are you. So are you, and you got layers upon layers. You know, you can play different players, and it wasn't like before where if someone got injured, it was done.
That's true.
You've got something that you've wanted for a while, which is depth. You know, and with Eddie Nketiah in your depth, who's still who's like still adapting to the new system, all new players that are around him, he has the chance to be getting better. I don't know what he's doing in the training ground where he's forgetting to score, but he's adding all those things to his game. But he needs to kind of, you know, I look at someone like, you know, you talk about hold up play. One of the best strikers to do it was Didier Drogba, where he was able to take on defenses by himself. I'm not saying he's to get to that level, But it's really a really daunting task for a defender when you got one striker and he's running absolute rings around you. He incorporate the best from all the other strikers. Be that hybrid striker where we already had the half part where you're scoring the goals. Just when you come on with those minutes, run your socks off. You'll probably only be there for 10 minutes. Do the work. Come in, find them. The same thing I said about what the problem with Lukaku is that he didn't do enough to justify himself being in that top echelon of strikers, which you argue he could have been. He really, really, he scored, I think he got 100 goals in the Premier League, but he could have been so much more. And you don't want Eddie to get to a point where he's at the age where it's still got the potential to be better from here, but he doesn't reach it purely because he just didn't almost didn't put in the work. In a team which is going for a title nevertheless as well. So like what Craig said, see the greats, see how they do it. Find the run that works for you. Don't be so predictable. Give your teammates a kind of trust and things to think about.
I think the runs definitely need to improve. I do think he works hard in training, because every time I watch like an Arsenal training video and when they show the finishing drills, he puts the ball in quite well. He's quite consistent at that. I just think in match days, it's either he's not getting the chances, which is a fair argument to say, or he's not positioning himself in the right areas to get those chances. So like you're saying, Matthew, he needs to work on that. Like you're saying, Craig, he needs to show more for his teammates. I don't think it's the fact that teammates don't trust him, because believe me, if teammates didn't trust him, he wouldn't play. He wouldn't play if his teammates didn't trust him. But maybe it's a thing where, again, I go back to something Henri said as well, and it's a lesson, I think, for, not just from a footballing perspective, but also a life perspective as well. So he was saying for one of the things he learned, which Arsene Wenger taught him, because he was talking about like his teammates and just how and playing with them and not necessarily getting the right passes. And Wenger said to them, yeah, but are you making the right runs for them? Like, you might make a run, but okay, just because Dennis can hit that pass, can Gilberto hit that same pass? Can Pires hit that same pass? Can, when you played with Viltord, can he play that pass? Can Lundberg play that pass? No. But think about it. You know how Lundberg makes his runs, how he positions himself, so you know what kind of pass he'll prefer. So adjust yourself. Same in the workplace. If you know how you've got colleagues, you have some colleagues that are not morning people. Don't be the one coming in every morning saying, "Hey guys, good morning." Da, 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 da. Like, why are you putting everyone in a bad? You're putting them in a bad mood now. And then when that colleague's grumpy, you'd be like, "Oh, the vibes in the office is dead today." When you get home, well, I'm sorry, but you contributed to the negative vibe. Like, when you come in, just be a bit calm. Some people don't like that. Some people need that. So when you come in, just hey, good morning. Everyone's a bit different. So just like, be considerate to what your colleagues would need from like a working perspective, and a football perspective. You got to adapt, because at the end of the day, if you're not making the runs that they can see, you'll never get the ball. You won't score, and then at the end of the day, you won't get minutes. You won't get chances. Life goes on. But I do want to talk about the stars of the show, starting with the captain, Mr. Martin Odegaard. Definitely comfortably top 5 Premier League midfielder. I think we can all agree on that. We're going to put him in the top 3. And I'm happy to put him in top 2, but we can debate that another day. But Craig, like, last year, the goal he scored against Burnley, that was a feature of him in the D, edge of the box. You just knew that was Odegaard's zone. There was a certain spot where when he got the ball there, I'm thinking Newcastle, I'm thinking Spurs, I'm thinking, did you do against United as well? Odegaard just bags whenever he wants. We need to bring that song back. Martin Odegaard, he scores when he wants. It was a great goal. But like, just talk me through like his general performance this match and in this season, because to me it feels like he's having a really good season, even though like goals wise it hasn't been as much as last season. But when you look at the fact that he's actually created the most chances in Europe this season by far. He's played the most passes into the box of anyone by far. And if some of our players had their shooting boots on, he would have much better stats. I ain't going to name any names, but we just discussed one just shortly. So how are you looking at the captain's performances?
He's playing a different role this season compared to last season. Last season he's playing more as a number 10. This season he's playing more like a number 8 when next to Rice. He's playing more deeper and getting the ball off the centre-backs and doing more legwork. Maybe because the midfield is different. Like Granit Xhaka was doing that type of role last season, like protecting Partey and Odegaard to go
Zinchenko as
forward.
well, yeah.
Zinchenko as well, so he could go and do his thing. So this season, yes, his numbers are not great, but it's better. He's got all round package now. If he's not scoring, he's assisting more. He's providing more. Like the assist did for Saka. The way how he just the movement from Saka was amazing as well. But the way how the ball came to him, Saka made one move, moved again, opened it up, cut onto his right foot, bang, top bins. I feel like, and his goal was class as well. Like the ball came to him and just hit it first time, bottom corner,
He took a
rocket,
touch.
Huh?
He took it came to him. He controlled it with his right foot.
and then hit it.
Odegaard could have, when he controlled the ball, he could have made himself a cup of tea
Yeah.
and sandwiches, ate the cup of tea, drank the tea, ate the sandwiches,
Yeah.
and then put the ball in bottom corner. Like he had so much time. I was shocked. He had so much time and
Such
space.
a finish.
That's a class finish.
Like-
And
Bad as Burnley were, but you still got to do the finish though.
Yeah.
I feel like this season he's obviously he had an injury as well, so he's come back from a long term injury, the hip injury. Or some type of hip injuries, like it takes you a while to get back into your rhythm again. Like you have to get your body back aligned in the right place. So he's back in form now. That's good. I feel like Arsenal now are back in form at the right time, at the crucial time of the season.
That's
So
it.
the next 4 to 5 months are going to be 4 months or so. It's going to be crucial up to May. If we're still in the title race in April, it could go down to the wire.
I think it will.
After April, if we're still in the title race after April, and we've got some tough games. We've got to play Tottenham away.
We're going to get into all that.
Okay.
Just hold on. We're going to get into all the matches a
We
bit
still
later.
got an international break coming up as well.
We're going to get into all this, but
that's
you're
what-
right.
yeah.
It is shaping up to be a very exciting title race, and if we can still be in contention, I mean, we're in contention now in Feb. If we can be the same position ended up by March, we just got to keep building. But it's starting to look good. I guess for you, Matthew, as like a final point on Odegaard before I go on to the guy that Craig mentioned, Bukayo, but like, what's some of the thoughts that you think about Martin Odegaard? I mean, I know at Chelsea you would die for a player like him. You can't have him.
We already had him. We already had him.
No, you never had Odegaard.
We had someone like him.
Who?
You found your Lampard Gerrard. You found him. You found him. Look at what look the all round with the providing, the goals that he's scoring, the passes that he's making. Don't tell me he hasn't looked and thought like, this is the standard. You can argue between the two. You can argue between the two all you want, but we can't say that he hasn't looked somewhere. And the future legend in De Bruyne there, he's looked at them thinking, if I'm going to be a number 8, I can't just be providing the goals. I'll go be chipping in with the goals. How many goals did he get last season?
I hear you about
15.
that.
How many goals? He got
15.
15 in the Premier League. Is that just in the Premier League?
That's in the Premier League. You got more in the cup games as well.
Got more in the cup games
in the
as well.
Europa League and
Now, if he's a great contributor when it comes to the goals. It hasn't been worked out for him this year, so he's not contributing. He's assisting. There's still plenty of meat in this Premier League season for him to reach that double figures. I've got no doubt about it. And that, again, if you have that key midfielder, if you look at all of the best Premier League winning teams, yours included, there was that one or two midfielder, that one midfielder who would chip in with the goals now and then. For you, it's him. Where he can come in and chip in with the goals and and not just the assists he's making, but the kind of assists that he's making. And they're not just your ordinary, one-off assists. These are good. These are special assists, like that one he made for Saka, for the goal, boof, right in the net. That takes confidence, that takes time, that's finesse, that's flexing, that's him feeling his moments. Like he's watched, again, whatever order you want them in, you can have that. But he's looked at these guys and thinking, these are bar one, but these are Premier League greats in the midfield. 8s.
Who's the
in
bar
their role.
one? Who are you throwing shots to say that now? Who's the
Because
bar
no, I meant Premier League winning. Gerrard never won a Premier League,
okay.
but he's a Premier League. He's an all timer. He's an all timer.
No, I just wanted to clarify what you meant, because you can't just sneak that one in there.
Listen,
That's like it's gonna get away.
He's missing the Premier League, and that's always going to be hanging above his head. But he's Mr. Liverpool. He's always going to be Mr. Liverpool. That they could retire that number 8 shirt right now. I don't think anyone necessarily.
Look, the Premier League
disagree.
slipped right through his hands.
It slipped. It literally slipped. Thanks, Dembaba. But this man, Eddie, this is what. Listen to your captain. You watch the greats. You watch the ones who set the standard and what they do, and that you can't tell. Odegaard, how old is he now?
Or 25.
25.
He's 25. Lampard, Gerrard went to their mid-30s. De Bruyne is going into his 30s and they're still going. You know, watch the hell. I'm looking at someone like a Luka Modric who's still doing it today. He strikes me as a man who's done his homework. You know, and for his age, you look at same with Saka. He's only going to get better. If he can chip 12 goals a season, no problem.
You know what? Let's move on to Bukayo because, like Craig said, and you're right. Like I think for Martin, there's definitely like one of the things I like with Martin Odegaard when you think about his career. This is a guy that was a wonder kid who got that big move early. He could have gone to any club in the world, went to Real Madrid, and unfortunately at the time, Real Madrid's squad meant that he didn't have the opportunities to play the games and minutes that his talent deserved. You know, bounced around on loan a few different places, went to Sociedad. I think that loan was a great loan for him. Helped show the world what he was capable of. Hope to get an opportunity with Ancelotti, but again, their squad is stacked. And a lot of Madrid fans, when he came to Arsenal on loan, it was another great loan, great exposure. A lot of Madrid fans regretted the day they sold him. They couldn't believe that the decision was made for him to be let go. And seeing how well he's performed the last 3 seasons now as an Arsenal player, it's been, they've not liked it. And I get it. I mean, he's our captain now. I get it. He's a world-class player and he's performing at, he's a world-class player. He's got world-class talent. I think by the end of this season, that conversation will be, okay, when people say how many world-class players have Arsenal got, I think by the end of this season, you'll comfortably say 2, confirmed 2. I would even, I'm saying 2 and I'm holding up 3 fingers. Even my brain knows, Clive, you know there's 3. Okay, you'd probably say that I think there'll be 3 confirmed world-class players. One of them, it'll just come down to, I think, national team recognition in Saliba. I think Saliba, Saka, Odegaard will be your 3 world-class players confirmed. And then you could extend it to 5 if you include Rice and Gabriel. And then I think Martinelli is knocking at the door. The only thing with him is just consistency with numbers and performances. But he's knocking at the door. Jesus is the numbers lets him down, but I think everything else he does is world class. We can't mention Partey because he's never fit, but I think that's where you'd probably say instead of world class players, you'd say comfortably 3, arguably 5, potentially 6 at Arsenal. And I'm leaving, and I think that's fair when you look at the metrics of what a world class player is. That's how you'd put it. But let's talk about Bukayo Saka, because one thing I found really fascinating with him over the years is how he's developed his shooting. I know back in the day with Robin van Persie, in Holland they had this expression which is called they call your weaker foot your chocolate leg. And I know Van Persie, in the 2 seasons before he left, when he started getting fit and staying fit for longer, he started shooting a lot with his right foot. Van Persie's left-footed. And he used to always rifle the ball in. And I remember in a post-match interview, they asked him about it. He said, I've been working on my chocolate leg. I was like, what? He said, my weaker foot, I'm working on it and trying to get better. And I know that with Bukayo, that's definitely been a thing. In fact, Arsene Wenger, when this actually came out from Tim Lewis, who's one of Arsenal's directors. He does like our contracts and does our finance stuff. Always on our board liaison people. Anyway, he was, when Arsene Wenger first came back to the Emirates, after all these years of being outside, he met the squad. Obviously, a lot of them didn't know him. Bukayo hadn't met him before, and he met Bukayo, and Bukayo was like, "Oh, boss, is there anything that I need to work on my game?" And Arsene was like, "Well, you could use your right foot a bit more." Since that day, Bukayo Saka has developed this rocket in his right foot that says, you know what? I remember the goal against Leeds when the ball got played through to him, and we're all thinking, okay, there's no room. He's got to cut it back, and he just rifles it top bins. Everton, and then now against Burnley. Aston Villa was left foot volley, but it was still just top bins. So for you, Craig, how important is it that Saka has now developed what I'm calling the trademark, the rifle? And the other player there's 2 players in world football that one who is the first person that I recognize who did it, and the other one who's someone who's did it for a lot longer, but I only realized it on reflection. The first player that I recognized doing it was Kasper Dolberg, a player that is kind of drifted around a bit. He was at Ajax. I remember seeing clips of this guy. He'd always get the ball in the box, the right hand side on the corner of the box, of the inside the 16-yard box, and he would always hit it high. And I remember I'd watch these clips and I'd see like 3 or 4 or 5 goals the same. And all I think is, why don't more players do that? Because it just made sense. I'm like, the keeper's not going to get up there. Aguero is the other one who trademarked that. Didn't use it often, but when he did use it, game over. But Craig, just talk about Saka and his right foot.
Improved a lot. It's improving every season. If he does that more often, he'll be less predictable. So when teams are double up on him, he'll cut onto his right foot, bang. Cut onto his right foot, bang, every time. All that's to do, cut onto his right foot and bang. If his left foot is occupied, just cut in and hit with your right foot every time. And if he improves his right foot even more, he'll be one of the best 2-footed players in the world. There's only 3 players or 2 players I feel in world football right now who are above him, and that's Vinicius Junior.
Are you thinking Bellingham? Or are you thinking someone else?
And Salah.
Yeah.
Them 2 are the only 2 you can say right now as why that's the level he needs to get to, consistent level. But his numbers is good. If he's not scoring goals, he's getting assists.
I think,
and I do feel this season he will beat the numbers he made last goals he'll score last. He'll beat that record this season.
I think
he's
Saka
only 2 goals away from that.
I think Saka's better than Vinny Jr. already this season, to be honest. I think Vinny Jr. is not having a great year.
Real Madrid are having a good year.
So they're still top of the league, aren't they?
And also, I think with Vinny Jr., the thing for me is that Vinicius Jr. this season, he's got in 16 matches, he's in La Liga, he's got 7 goals and 4 assists. In the Champions League, he's got 2 goals and 2 assists from 4 matches. He's got 3 in the Spanish Super Cup. He's got, maybe numbers right. But I think for me with Vinny Jr., it's the national team. He's not. Saka had a better World Cup than Junior did for Brazil. Junior for Brazil has not been very good. So for me, that's where I feel like when it comes to comparing the two, I think Saka is ahead of him, but it's close. It's really close. The thing I'd probably say overall, I say this season Saka's ahead. Overall, Vinicius is a better player, just because he's done it on the highest level, and they won Champions League. And he was instrumental in that run.
That's the only thing that's stopping him. If Saka does get Arsenal far in the Champions League, so he gets to the semi-final, final, and he's contributing like goals and assists in that run, then the question will have to be asked again real fair, and I'll have to say, what, this guy's world class.
Listen, no one cares what Rio has to say. All right? I won't get into why, but we don't care what you have to say, yeah?
Same guy that backed Mike Ashley at Newcastle.
Ollie at the wheel, say less. Say less. I was going to say a really bad joke, but anyway. But I guess the final thing on Arsenal before we get into the nitty-gritty of the title race, one of the things that's been very fascinating for me is looking at how much the team have changed post the Dubai trip. Now, we had a terrible end of 2023, ridiculous, and there's 2 defeats back-to-back. If we could have just got 2 draws, we'd be top right now. Literally.
Fulham and West Ham.
On unnecessary defeats.
And in the title race, that's what they are.
Against 2 useless teams. I'm sorry. West Ham want David Moyes, like some fans want David Moyes fired. Did they not win a European trophy last season?
Yeah.
They're fickle fans, West Ham fans.
And they're still in Europe right now.
And they're still in Europa League doing really well right now. They might do a 2-peat back-to-back. Imagine if they did back-to-back European trophy.
Mad.
And they weren't even fired.
Shut up.
I mean, okay, I know. Look, we're in the you're 9th in the table. You're not even that. You're 9th in the table, man. You're 2 points off 7. Like, let's be realistic here. Another European run is going to come next season. You'll be fine. I know you've lost 3 on the bounce, and you got Brentford next, so that could really be 4 on the bounce. Might be looking shaky, but so far, let's relax on that. But Matthew, how impressed are you with the kind of tweaks that Arteta's made post Dubai?
They're working. You're not just winning, but you're winning well. Like, you're not just getting like an odd 2-1 or a 1-0 or this. You're pumping teams like 6-0, like 5-0. I mean, if you can maintain that kind of average of 3 to 4-0 every other single game, that's proper like title mentality. It's almost as if they revert back to type and be like, look, guys, let's relax. We've got proper stress towards the end of Christmas. The game's stacking up. We've got 3 in the Champions League, all that kind of stuff. Maybe it was a case where, for the first time, a lot of them were in the Champions League for the first time. Maybe there's fixtures which was getting a little bit ahead of them. It was a very hectic time. And a lot of them probably very, very tired, not used to that level of mentality, that intensity in a very short space of time. And I think sometimes, what do you do when you're burnt out? You have a break. You burn the candle at both ends. In any job, like you said before, certain team members, they work different. So when you go off and you have a break, like in any job you do, even when they're getting paid millions, sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you need to go. You revert back to what you were doing. Have a new, fresh thing mentality. That's why holidays are important, people. That's why holidays, PTO, you got to take it off. You got to do the thing, man. And now look what you come back. You come back a team that was like, you've still got the efficiency from this season, but you've got that goal threat from last season. You've combined the best of both from the both teams. So you're still methodical, but at any point in the moment, you put teams to the sword. You've already done that twice, and you haven't lost or drawn since you've come back. I don't think yet.
5 wins in the bounce.
So so some things, including one against one of your big rivals.
Yeah.
And a convincing win at that. So tweaks and just a general bit of R&R just can do wonders for a team.
Indeed, they can. All right, let's talk about the title race because I feel like it's been one. It's just a great season. So before we get into the fixtures, the teams we've got coming up, obviously we know Liverpool and Man City have games this week. So by the time we do our next episode, we will be reacting to that and also the games at the weekend. But no, they won't be weekend because you've got your Carabao Cup. So I think Arsenal and City will play the weekend, but Liverpool will not. But we'll react to that final. Don't worry. So the table right now, we've got Liverpool top on 57 points with a goal difference of 35. Arsenal second on 55 points with a goal difference of 36. So there's big wins are very important. And then Man City are third on 53 points. They are playing against Brentford on Tuesday. So today they're playing Brentford as you're listening to this. But it will be interesting to see how that all pans out. Maybe not today, maybe tomorrow. Depends when this comes out. But they'll have Brentford this week as of recording. So we'll see how it goes. In terms of the upcoming... So before we get into the fixtures, Matthew, who are you rating to get the title? Well, of those three teams, what's your 1, 2, and 3?
I'm going to go... Just because I know this team can work well under pressure, I'm going to go Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool.
Okay. Craig, what's your 1, 2, 3?
If we're still in the title race between now and April, and we
what's your 1, 2, 3, my man? I don't need caveats, man. What's your 1, 2, 3?
I'm backing Arsenal to win the league this season.
Okay.
I think Man City will finish runners up and Liverpool finish third. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
I'm going to say Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City. Although, to be fair, I do think Liverpool can hold on. So potentially it could either stay as it is or Man City could push ahead into second, but we'll see. But to make that all make sense, we're going to look at the run-in that the teams have all got. We're going to start with Arsenal's run-in, and I'm talking all the games here. So we've got Newcastle next. Then we have an away at home. Then we have Sheffield United away, Brentford at home, Chelsea at home in March, Man City at the end of March away at the Etihad. Then from that game, we go to Luton at home, Brighton away, Villa at home, Wolves away, Spurs at London, their stadium. And then it's Bournemouth at home, Man United away, and then the last game of the season against Everton at home. Big games there. We'll look at Man City. So they've got, like I said, Brentford on Tuesday. Then they've got Bournemouth on the weekend. Then they've got the Manchester Derby at home.
Come on, United.
Liverpool away. And then Brighton away. So they have the Manchester Derby, Liverpool away, and then Brighton away. That's a crazy run of 3 games. Then they have the Arsenal game at home. Then they've got Villa at home, Crystal Palace away, Luton at home, Tottenham away, Nottingham Forest away, Wolves at home, Fulham away, and they end the season out with West Ham at home. Now, if West Ham's worries continue to pan out, that could be a massive game. Nottingham Forest away could be massive in April if things aren't going well for them. So that's interesting. And then Liverpool's run-in is they have Luton this midweek. Then they have Nottingham Forest away at 2nd of March. Then they go to Man City. Then they have the Merseyside Derby away at Everton. Now, again, depending on how things are going with this 10-point thing, if Everton get a second deduction, that match could be absolutely seismic. And then they have Brighton at home, followed by Sheffield United at home, Man United away, Crystal Palace at home, Fulham away, West Ham away, Spurs at home, Aston Villa away, and they end it with Wolves at home. So all of us have as our final game of the season a home match. So literally, if it goes to the last game of the season, they may as well just have the trophy in a helicopter.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to get from Liverpool to Manchester? I mean, they're probably going to have it hovering around Manchester area, Cheshire, and then it will just go to Liverpool. But I'll be like, listen, just have that hovering around Leicester, just in case you have to hightail down to London, yeah? Because it's if it goes down to the last game of the season, which it could, that could be massive. I guess on that note, when you look at Arsenal's games, what do you think is going to be the biggest matches or the potential
banana slip?
Yeah, of them. Because obviously, like I said, we've got Newcastle coming up, then we've got Sheffield away, Brentford at home, Chelsea at home, City away. That's a massive game. Luton at home, Brighton away, Villa at home, Wolves away, Spurs away, Bournemouth, Man United, Everton.
I will say Tottenham, Chelsea game, Brighton away because we lost.
I was going to say Brighton as well.
Brighton, Wolves away. Wolves, even though we beat them, they're struggling.
Wolves tend to do. They've got some results.
So Spurs, Wolves, Brighton. You say the main ones outside of the obvious ones, like
I'll say Brentford as well. And even though Brentford are not playing well at the moment, they did draw against us last season, and they're fighting for the last at the moment.
Depends on where they are on the table. Depends on where they are on the table.
And if Tony's in form, at the moment, they'll give us a game. So we have to be very alert.
Okay. And then for you, Matthew, when you look at, so you kind of echo those kind of games. Man City, what games are you saying is going to be tricky for them? So they've got Brentford, Bournemouth, United, Liverpool, Brighton, Arsenal, Villa, Palace, Luton, Spurs, Forest, Wolves, Fulham, West Ham.
Outside of the bait ones,
yeah,
there's two teams that come to mind I think could be a problem. Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. They don't like playing Crystal Palace. Bogey. And when Man City have bogeys, they have bogeys.
I'm adding Brighton into the mix of that,
Are they home or away?
Brighton is... Brighton's at home. Man City are away.
They've seemed to have found their mojo a little bit. That could be a good one.
Brighton beat Man City last season. They did. Remember that game?
Yeah.
And so that could be an interesting one. And then we'll go over to Liverpool. So their games for their run-in, they have Luton midweek, then Forest, City, Everton, Brighton, Sheffield United, Man United, Crystal Palace, Fulham, West Ham, Spurs, Aston Villa, and Wolves. What teams are you thinking, Craig?
Aston Villa.
Yep.
Spurs. Everton.
Well, Spurs is at Anfield. Aston Villa is at Villa Park.
What Wolves?
Wolves is at Anfield.
I think
Klopp's last game. Klopp's last game.
Wolves could give them a game.
Because
Klopp's last game at Anfield, they're not losing.
Because the last time they played Wolves in a title run, I think they were winning. No, it was City that won. Wolves didn't do anything, but still.
It's Klopp's last game at home. They're not losing. That's 3 points.
Let me see.
100%.
Everton could give them a game. Everton are fighting for relegation.
If they get another thing, Everton are gonna throw it all out.
Yeah.
That'll be. It's like if we're going down, we're taking you with us, sort of thing.
Yeah,
that
Everton.
Seismic.
Who else have they got? Sorry,
Everton, Forest, Luton, Brighton, City.
I think
United.
Brighton.
Yeah.
I think Luton could give them a gate run for their money because Luton been playing well. They were very unlucky against Man United
At home, though.
At home.
Luton are away. It's
They're
at
away.
Anfield. And it's midweek. That's the game coming up this week. So
Yeah, but Luton are fighting for the last. They're going to give everything. From now until the end of the season, no team's going to want to play Luton because Luton are high intensity. They might go goal 2 down,
They're
but
ambitious.
they fight.
They're
Like against
ambitious.
United, they lost 3-1 or 2-1. Was it 2-1 or
2-1.
2-1. But they were fighting until the 90th minute.
It wasn't easy.
No, they
game.
could have
No,
scored.
it
Luton
wasn't
could have
easy.
scored. They missed a chance in the 90th minute, 96th minute. So I'm saying the Luton could
they could do a job.
they could do a job.
Nottingham Forest, is that home or away?
Nottingham Forest is away.
I fancy Nottingham Forest against them.
I wouldn't-
They beat them there last season.
And that's
at-
coming up
at
on the
City
2nd
ground.
of March.
I wouldn't
so
rule it out.
Nottingham Forest to do a job on them.
I would not rule it out. But it
could.
depends.
Origi could come back and haunt his former club. It's happened before.
It's true.
Players have come back to their former club and done
Caltech
the
can get another
business.
goal. Caltech can get another goal. Come on.
And one thing you haven't realised as well, that Liverpool got a lot of injuries at the moment as well. Jota's out at the moment. That guy.
Gakpo?
Huh?
No.
Alisson.
Curtis Jones.
Jones. Thiago obviously injured
Thiago's
again.
injured.
Alisson's
injured. So they've got a lot of players out injured. So Salah's just come back from injury.
So it could get a bit tougher.
It could get a bit tough for them. And they've got Europa League to contend with FA Cup.
quadruple, bro.
So the quadruple could be either winnable or it could evaporate in a couple of weeks. It could happen.
Before we get into the Carabao Cup final preview, because I know Matthew's very eager to talk about that, let's talk about your draw with Man City first. Very, very briefly. We don't need to get into too much detail, but this is the second time you've played this season against them, and it's the second match where I've watched and I've thought you've made them look vulnerable and very, not ordinary, but they look beatable. And I would not really have said that. I mean, when Arsenal play them, it's a tactical chess match. Liverpool play them, it is like, a Western standoff. Who's going to draw first? Who's going to fire first? You guys played them. It was like playground football. But it was end-to-end basketball football.
It was vibe.
I'm just like, this is not Man City.
Bogies, man.
Do you think you've got the blueprint that everyone should follow? Or is there just something about Chelsea that Man City can't control?
This was in the game at the Etihad back in November. No matter what they did, we just kept coming back. We just have that. We're going to make you look so ordinary. And the best thing we're going to do is that we're going to use your former man to do it. Last time it was Cole Palmer. This time it was Raheem Sterling. And arguably, Raheem Sterling could have had 2 goals. I'm looking at that game thinking we were almost perfect. It's just the second half subs kind of nullified the thing that we had. When Sterling, I know I've complained a lot about this guy, a lot, but when he's in that kind of fever, when he's on heat, you keep him on because you just don't know. He might have scored again. I mean, he was unlucky with his shot going against the keeper, but all the danger really and truly was coming from him in that game. And then Rodri, I've said many times, and there was what people don't realize was a dirty deflection. Absolutely a dirty deflection that gave him. But listen, I would have taken that result even before the game anyway. But we had them on because we was hit on the break. They're saying on the break, and we got players that can run. For all what we're lacking, we've got players that are quick, and when they're quick and when they're confident and when they've got the eye for goal, we can do so much. Chilwell was getting in. Disasi had the best goal of his life so far. Absolute defensive rock. And you can talk about Haaland missing all of his chances. He still had to do the defensive work. But Sterling were doing it. Cole Palmer were doing it. And Kunku, come on, he was doing it. Just catch him on the break. The same thing we did against Liverpool the first game of the season. Catch them on the break. And in the end, we got that result. 2 good results either side. But it's annoying because the win was kind of there. It was there. And it would really, not just only would help you guys, that would help us out. Massively, but what a game. What a game. But just makes games like the Wolves game more frustrating. It just makes it more frustrating because we know we can have that in our locker. And having a result like that gives me so much more confidence going into Sunday. So much more confidence.
All right, let's lead straight into Sunday. Craig, how are you calling that one?
Chelsea is very inconsistent. The Chelsea will do well against a Man City and then they'll lose against the Wolves, as you just said. But I feel like at the moment, Chelsea and Liverpool got a lot of injuries at the moment. It could go down to the injuries. I feel like if you can play like how you play against City, you could beat them. But Liverpool are the cup specialists. They know how to win the cup game. If they get into penalties, I fancy Liverpool on penalties.
Not again, man.
If it goes to penalties. But I feel like Chelsea have lost the last 3 cup finals at Wembley in a row. They lost 2 FA Cup finals and a League Cup and an FA Cup final. So four finals in a row they've lost at Wembley.
All the L's.
I feel like they're due a big one now at Wembley now.
So is Poch.
And Poch is due. And Pochettino has never won a trophy in England, so that will be his first trophy in England. So he'll be working with the players on the training ground this week to make sure he can get a win, and it'll be a first trophy under the Bowley era. So
You guys need it.
you need it badly,
You really need it.
and you need to get back into Europe for next season as well.
Desperation could be a dangerous
if you
thing.
Get back if you don't get into Europe next season, you might have to sell players again in the summer.
It's not about might have to. The players, I think some players want to leave, but it's just how you got them on long contracts.
Desperation. Never underestimate the owner's desperate, the player desperate, the manager is desperate, and that sometimes can be the defining factor. In you could have all the tactics you want, desperation alone and just sheer will can sometimes trump that. I think that's what we have going in our favor going into this game. Is that the desperation? Sometimes it sounds shame that you're ashamed to say that I'm desperate for it, but sometimes you can use it to your advantage. And I just think that this won't be. I don't expect this to be a walkover final for them. With the injuries aside, I think the desperation is really gonna galvanize the team. I really do.
Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll definitely be reacting to that next week. This is our final things for today before we wrap up this week's podcast. Obviously, we saw the disgusting tackle by Mason Holgate on Karim Matoma in the game between Sheffield United and Brighton. What I don't understand is why the referee needed VAR to make it a red card. And also why Holgate was even,
why was he even protesting
about it. He does apologise to his teammates. I don't know if he's apologised to Matoma, but he does apologise to his teammates about letting them down in that match. And Chris Wilder was not happy. It's the kind of decision making that, come into the season, that match might have been the one that condemns them to relegation. Not blaming him because they've been crap all season, but
it's true.
The truth, they've been crap all season. They've been rubbish.
They've been rubbish. Another player that has really had a rubbish season and who it was hoped that his loan move was going to kickstart his career is Calvin Phillips. I don't understand that one.
Back-to-back poor games. Because he played in the 6-0, didn't he?
Yep.
Rubbish.
Was a sub.
As a sub, yeah. What's your take on it, Craig? Why do you think he's performing so badly?
He's hardly played for 2 years.
Yeah. Warming the bench.
Can we think of any other players that have struggled like that on loan? I mean, obviously, I know we had Dennis Suarez years ago, but he never played, so no one really knew how good or bad he was.
Do you remember a player for Leeds back in the day called Roque Jr., Brazilian World Cup winner?
Yeah.
And he played for Leeds a couple of years ago, in the season when they got relegated.
Yeah.
He had a poor season. He was on loan there. He had a poor season.
Really poor.
Very poor. I remember that season. They were very bad. That's when they got relegated.
See, a lot of players that leave their smaller clubs and realise the grass isn't always greener, innit? And Calvin Phillips, you argue, if he stayed at Leeds, probably Leeds will probably still be in the Premier League. 100%. If he was still there.
He was their best player, wasn't it?
He was one of their better ones, yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't want to say that.
I feel like Calvin Phillips made the move, but he didn't really. Maybe he wasn't applying himself. He got that bad injury. I watched on the documentary. He had a bad shoulder injury. He popped his shoulder when he first came to City. Came back from injury, popped his shoulder again, and I think Pep Guardiola didn't have faith in him after that. Hardly played him. Even when Rodri was suspended and injured, hardly played him. In the summer, he brought in Núñez from Wolves and the guy from Chelsea, Kovacic. Hardly played him. So what are you supposed to do? Even though he's won all them trophies, I'd rather play than win all them trophies, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it was hoped the West Ham loan would kind of kickstart things, but it hasn't really worked out. Maybe he could turn it around. There's still time, but it doesn't look good. And the last thing, I was at the Emirates this weekend to watch the Arsenal women beat Man United 3-1. We gave you a goal. But record Super League attendance. In fact, Arsenal have numbers 1 through 5 of the record Super League attendance for the women's team. So it's amazing the effort by the club to, one, bring women's game to the Emirates Stadium. So I think the plan is from next season that they will use one stadium. Right now we use Meadow Park and we play there for the women's home games, but they want to have all the games at the Emirates from next season. So that's really exciting. I see pros and cons to that. I think it's great. It'll get more viewership. The risk is that you'll lose the closest you have at Meadow Park and it might kind of affect the fixtures as well. But I think it's a great thing. And the atmosphere in the ground was incredible.
Always is.
Always is. It's interesting watching the women's game. I don't try and compare them. I love football, so I don't look at them and compare them.
They're different sports.
They're different sports. What I always look for is things like the technical level, the tempo, and I do wonder with the Arsenal women's team if they need to look at getting a few more technical players on the ball, because at times I like dribblers, I like players that can move the ball quick, and I didn't see a lot of that until the subs came on. I think Cooney Cross, she came on, she was good at that. I know that on the wing, Caitlin Ford is good at that as well. And there's another player as well who was good at that. But yeah, so it was, but they played well. great goals in there. I love the chants of the fans. Like, they're really good fun. And yeah, long may the good run come. Next big game we've got is Spurs at home. And we know what happened last time, don't we?
Becky wants to score.
She was there.
She was in goal that game as well.
Yeah, they actually gave an award to the Arsenal 06-07 quadruple winning squad. So the whole squad turned up. The starting 11 plus under subs. Fikakers was there with the trophy. They all got a special commemorative
Becky got
medal
one.
Yeah, she was the goalkeeper. So it was nice to see. It was good to see them all there. Leanne Sanderson, Julie Fleeting, just name a couple people. Rachel Yankee, Faye Williams.
Alex Scott there. No,
Alex
too young.
Scott was not in that squad. No.
I think she was a bit old. Yeah.
So it was just great to see them, and they are in their record is on it outside the Emirates Stadium. It will be remembered forever, and they are a part of Arsenal's history. And this season, the women are chasing down the WSL title. The men are chasing down the Premier League title. Will glory come back to North London?
It needs to.
And will glory start in Southwest London?
Southwest.
Will glory start in Southwest London?
Just by the river.
Or will Jurgen Klopp start his farewell tour with a trophy on the weekend?
Emma Hayes, she's starting a goodbye tour as well.
We're going to find out in next week's episode of One Kick from Glory. See you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.